States, actually, but they can look to other teams to do any of the chasing if there is a split in that group, and wait until it's crunch time before they really need to put themselves at the front.
Well, you know, Matt, the good thing about this course and about the profile, you saw it there in the bottom right of screen, is that the climbs are all fairly close to each other. So it's either up or it's down. There's not much valley road at all. Just a little section towards the foot of the final climb of the Prat d'Albi. I think no more than a 8-kilometre section that could require any chasing if there's a split.
Niels Pollitt out in front. Reaction coming pretty quickly from the man in the yellow helmet, that is Marc Soler. The group is really disorganised, even though they're out to 3:37.
So Pollitt just trying to keep things going on behalf of Ilnur Zakarin, get the biggest gap possible. That's really all that Pollitt can do from now on, is just try and open up the gap. He can't be of assistance on these Category 1 climbs to his teammates. So this is the best thing he can do, is keep the pace on. He's drawing reactions from behind. Nico Roach says, well, I better go across to that one just in case.
Also, Simon Geschke from CCC making sure that he stays on the wheel. He's a powerhouse on the flat, Niels Pollitt.
So even though nobody's in his wheel, it's encouraging the others to swap off behind him, not let somebody go, just keeps the momentum going of the group. And you see all the reactions coming now. More and more riders have gone across to that second group, and a little bit of panic starts to set in, then someone jumps.
And the primary reason Niels Pollitt is doing this is because his teammate Ilnur Zakarin is in that breakaway. He's a great climber, Ilnur Zakarin. He's been third in the Volta a España, stage winner this year in the Giro d'Italia. Simon Yates is chasing.
But Zakarin is not in this second group, so Pollitt is also looking back to see where he is. Here he is in that third group towards the front of it, just behind Vincenzo Nibali. So Pollitt has caused this split by reactions behind him, and his teammate he's trying to ride for at the moment is in the last group of the four, but it's all starting to close back up again. And that is what awaits the riders up the valley. They are approaching the foot of the first Category 1 climb of the day. That was a couple of years ago into Foix. We will ride through today, and instead of the finish line being down in the town itself, it is high above on the Prat d'Albi, a Category 1 climb. And back then, just great to see that footage again of Warren Barguil and his entry into that final corner, just carrying way more corner speed, a much faster line, already standing up and on the pedals while the others were still trying to corner further to the inside. Perfect execution. By the time they knew what was going on, he was gone and the stage win was in. He would go on to win on the Col d'Izoard and sew up the polka dot jersey of 2017 as well. And this year, after a very lean and inconspicuous 2018, Warren Barguil is back on the attack yesterday on the Tourmalet, and backing up a great effort by their whole team, in fact, of Arkea Samsic. Elie Gilbert was off the front earlier on. When he was caught, it was Barguil who went on the attack. And no, it wasn't a stage-winning move, but it was a good attempt and will be a real confidence booster for the Frenchman, really signalling his return this season with his win in the French Championship. Back up to the break, and it looks like we still have a split. There is still a large group in front.
And just again on Warren Barguil, I wonder how he feels about all the rumours of the arrival at his team of Nairo Quintana. There's 15 riders out in front, leaving 21 to do the chasing. Team's classification currently being led by Movistar, 11 minutes and 5 seconds ahead of Trek Segafredo. This is Vincenzo Nibali, number 41. The climber's about to start.
So any of those riders in that second group, the good climbers who have missed out on their split, they do have the chance early on the early slopes of this climb to get themselves back across, but give themselves a lot of work to do. With the likes up here of Peo Bilbao, Nicola Roche, Reichenbach. This is the second group, just with Dan Martin at the front, Ilnur Zakarin. We saw it was his teammate pushing the pace on for Ilnur Zakarin to try and open up the gap. It's caused a split, and he's missed it.
11.4 kilometres worth of climbing. This is at the back of the group, number 63. That is Andre Amador. 136 is the bobbing, ducking and weaving Balka Mollema. 41, Vincenzo Nibali. 156, that is Pierre-Luc Perrichon from Cofidis. Peloton still being led by De Koning Quickstep. And Mollema, third in the Volta a España in 2011. He is now being dropped. And he started the day 15th overall at just 9 minutes and 3 seconds down. He's got Ilnur Zakarin with him. That's disappointing for Katusha Alpecin. That's the rider that Niels Pollitt was working for. Another rider from Fatigue from the Giro d'Italia, where he finished in 10th place.
Well, at the moment, Zakarin is about the same distance behind the front group that he was at the foot, but other riders are moving away and going across. This is Tim Wellens. Well, he's done what he could today. He did a good job yesterday, collecting maximum points on the Category 1 climb. He'll live to fight another day, and he'll be keeping his fingers crossed about who gets the major points on the 3 climbs today.
Base of the climb, the sprinter who is at the front for De Koning Quickstep. The team is fully committed to the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe. Yesterday he said he thought it would be hard. At the end, he said it was even harder. This is Simon Yates. Stage winner into Bagnier de Bigorre. He's followed by Sebastian Reichenbach. Next in line is Rudy Mollard, 2 riders from Groupama FDJ. The red, Nico Roche. This is Lutsenko in white.
The gap has something wrong with him. Elia Viviani, their sprinter, is still here and looking really comfortable. We're a pure climber, a man who's 2nd overall in the Tour of Spain last year, is out the back. To be illness.
Has to be. Even on a bad day, he would outclimb Viviani.
So that means when the pressure goes on, you would expect most of the riders from De Koning Quickstep to be dropped, bar Alaphilippe and Dries Devenants.
It means there's going to be some lonely kilometres for Julian Alaphilippe defending the yellow jersey. Andre Amador, followed by Romain Bardet. I do like the character of Romain Bardet. After such a difficult day 24 hours ago, he bounces back immediately and shows himself once again at the front of the Tour. Remnants of the breakaway group. Roman Kreuziger is leading. Guillaume Martin is the yellow helmet that you can see off in the distance. In addition to being a philosopher, he's also a playwright. He's written a stage show which is being performed at the moment in the Avignon Festival, and his mum is the producer of that show. It's Platon versus Platoche, and it's based on the writings of Plato, Aristotle and Socrates. But he has said, first and foremost, I'm a professional cyclist. I don't want to be typecast as this character of the cyclist philosopher. He's a lot more than just a bike rider, isn't he? With the masters in philosophy, and he's a playwright as well. He's got a bit going on, Guillaume Martin.
Well, he's got a bit going on trying to cross the group in front of him, and they in turn are chasing the front of the race, which is really starting to heat up into single file. Geschke still here, number 114. Nairo Quintana, the best on GC in this group, starting the day 7 minutes and 19 seconds behind the lead of Alaphilippe. Another big acceleration here, and that is Caruso.
He's following
the wheel of Bernard.
Yeah, he's following Julien Bernard. The pink colours, Michael Woods. Number 72, that is Bilbao.
This is a chasing group, not the front group.
Correct. Yeah, this is the second group there, and they're at 26 seconds behind the front of the race. There's Guillaume Martin just in front of them.
That was the group with Dan Martin in front of him, and they are still behind the lead of the race with Simon Yates. He's already on the march and looking for stage win, number 2.
This is Ciccone. He's had a great tour. Second on the stage, La Planche de Belleville. A couple of days in the yellow jersey. He catches on to the group being led by Simon Yates. This is Dan Martin, followed by Bardet. Kreuziger in third position. In fact, that is not Romain Bardet. That is Tony Galopin that sits behind Dan Martin.
There he is, number 35, Tony Galopin. A very difficult start to this Tour de France. Came in under an injury cloud after a crash in the French Championship. Started the Tour all bandaged up on his left-hand side. A few days later, he had another crash. After that, since then, things have been looking up. He's got himself into a couple of breakaways, and he looks to be getting better as this Tour goes on, as Nairo Quintana is now having trouble following the wheel.
And he's not looking to be getting better. His teammate Marc Soler dropped back for him yesterday in the Col de Tourmalet. Soler is not waiting today. He's in this group trying to go across to the front and join that contingent of riders with Simon Yates.
You saw Quintana just reach for the radio communication. Soler taking a look back to see where he is. So obviously the word from Nairo was just easy for a second, easy. No way, Soler is trying to power across that gap. You can't wait for Quintana in this situation now.
If he waits for Quintana, they both miss the move.
If he's blowing this early on a Cat 1 climb where the action's only just starting after what happened with him yesterday, Soler's got to push on and see if he can go for a stage win.
Woods is trying to push on. He has got Omar Fraulet with him from Astana and Guillaume Martin from Montegroup Goubert. Roman Kreuziger out of the saddle for Dimension Data. They're about to make contact with the group. At the rear of that group is Simon Yates. Roach is there in red, so too is Leonard Kamner. Again, the young German. He's been very good this week. Didn't see much of him in the first week, but in the second week, he's been one of the standouts.
Andre Amador, the man who did most of the riding on the front for Movistar yesterday, and at the moment, he's the best of his team out of this breakaway.
This is Lutsenko, the Kazakhstan national champion.
He made a lot of attempts to get into the break today. It took him about 5 or 6 goes to eventually join this move that was able to get away.
Galopin, number 35. He has made contact. The body language of Dan Martin looks to be paying the price for the effort to close that gap.
Simon Yates, he made that acceleration. He split the group. He made everybody make a big effort to... Seems like he's just been sliding his way to the back, seeing who's here, catching his breath a little bit, but staying in contact with the back of the group. So a little bit of recovery, and I expect him back at the front of the group again. And he's not done with attacking just yet.
The stunning Pyrenees, the final battle for this year's Tour, that will be held in the Alps, including the stage from Albertville to Val Thorens. And today they have 16,000 people participating in L'Etape du Tour. You can also do L'Etape du Tour in many countries around the world, including in Australia, where Esteban Chavez and Amanda Spratt will be riding this year. But amongst those participating in L'Etape today in France, Frank Schleck, former stage winner at the Tour de France and a third-place finisher overall in 2011.
The high summer pastures here in the Pyrenees. Relaxed atmosphere if you're just out in the fields. The pressure coming on both up the front of the race in the breakaway and just starting to build back here in the peloton as well at the moment. De Koning quick step with Casper Asgreen setting the pace. Yves Lampart's still there as well, but the gap opening more and more to the front of the race. But they will also be hearing that Nairo Quintana is in trouble and being dropped out of the group in front. So that will help them to relax somewhat back in the peloton. Looming behind, Team Ineos, Jumbo Visma with Steven Kruijswijk. George Bennett there, just behind him as well. Soler, Lutsenko, Kreuziger, Guillaume Martin.
And all of a sudden, Nairo Quintana is within 2 minutes of the yellow jersey. He's now threatening the position of Geraint Thomas in second place overall.
Michael Woods moving himself up towards the front, so expect him to be going for the King of the Mountain points as well. He showed his hand over the last climb where he got the better of Vincenzo Nibali. This is Pierre-Luc Perichon. He was dropped out of the break and now drifting his way back to the peloton, who, talking of drifting, have now drifted out to 5 minutes and 18 behind the lead.
So in the virtual general classification, Nairo Quintana is in second position.
De Koning quick drawn into using too much energy and too many resources, especially at the moment since they're missing Enric Mas. Maybe hoping he can ride his way back on, but I think it looks worse than that. But definitely giving Julien Alaphilippe a fairly easy ride. All the other teams prepared to sit back and just let De Koning, Quick-Step, do the work. They look at that virtual general classification. Quintana now up to second at 1:57, moved ahead of Thomas Kruijswijk and Bernal. This is what we're talking about. Who does what and when?
Romain Bardet sitting just behind Nairo Quintana. Two riders we often speak about in these sorts of positions in the high mountains in terms of racing at the front, but not from a breakaway that's been given more than 5 minutes. Both of them had tough days yesterday, and they're really fighting back with both legs today. 65 Ks remaining, and it is still the 22-year-old Kasper Asgreen with the jersey unzipped at the front. This is Luke Durbridge at the back of the race from Mitchelton Scott. At the back of the main peloton, though, there's still a lot of riders further back behind Durbridge.
Absolutely. But Durbridge, he's in a safe position for getting inside the time cut and live to fight another day. And at the moment, just riding his way into the rest day. This is his teammate, Matteo Trentin.
No doubt they will get together and ride the remainder of the stage in unison, along with a few others that are slowly getting dropped off the back of the group. Steve Cummings still here at the back. These are the best legs we've seen on Steve Cummings throughout the tour for Dimension Data. Good news for Cummings is the green helmet in this breakaway is his teammate, Roman Kreuziger.
And now, reminiscent of yesterday, Movistar on the front, but this time in the breakaway, and with a man who, at the moment, is making a march towards going virtual race leader in the Tour de France, Nairo Quintana.
Tactically, yesterday, Movistar, they executed a plan that their legs couldn't live up to. Today, they've turned it around really quickly. This is strategically even better, and physically, they're performing at the next level.
I would say they carried out a plan that executed their team leader yesterday.
That it did.
But today he's back.
Bardet for points. Bardet for points. Simon Geschke wants a piece of the action. But Romain Bardet now, he wants a spot on the podium in Paris as the winner of the King of the Mountains classification.
Woods wanted to get through and was blocked. He's missed out on some points, just squeaking through this time. He was intent on having them and just couldn't get out from where he was, Michael Woods. The Romain Bardet is intention to clear. This is Richie Porte. He's been off the back of the main group, but this looks like it rather might have been a nature break or a mechanical. Rather than anything else.
Richie doesn't look particularly stressed and is riding quite well back through that convoy of cars. Richie looks okay. It was a disappointing day yesterday. This is one that he appears to have under control. The rider's from Soudal Lotto. He's reaching into the back pocket. He might have gone back to the team car to collect some food. Tish Benut towards the back with him from Soudal Lotto. He's the rider in second last position. There's still a little over a kilometre before they reach the top of the climb. This is Vincenzo Nibali.
He's just going backwards towards the peloton, and there they are. So the man who was so aggressive early on and all day yesterday was paying the price for those efforts. Won't be the last we've seen of him in this Tour de France. I think he'll keep trying, but it just seems that he's running on fumes.
He really does need the rest day. Then to Nîmes after that, followed by Stage de Gap, where perhaps we'll see a bit more of Vincenzo Nibali up towards the front. Nibali now caught. Asgreen still setting the tempo at the front. Alejandro Valverde, the world champion, the rainbow jersey with the yellow helmet on. It's looking pretty good. The 39-year-old is in 9th position overall at 5 minutes and 27 seconds down. Pau Bilbao is in the breakaway for the Astana team. He's one of the riders we caught up with before the start of the stage. We're not too far away from his home region in the Basque Country, just across the border. Here is Paulo Bilbao speaking this morning. Bilbao has already been proven to be correct. A few riders will have a difficult day today. Chiefly amongst them, the earlier victims, Enric Mas, the young Spaniard from the Küssnacht Quickstep. He's already been distanced by the main peloton. This is Bolka Mollema from Trek Segafredo, just in front of Michael Matthews. He wanted, he said, I wanted to hurt the others. Well, he did.
He absolutely did, and that's what you've got to want to do. You've got to go into it like it is a fight. That was a great ride as well. The peloton and the break both can now enjoy around 16 kilometres of descending down off this Category 1 climb, and the next one that comes up, it's a double up in a way. It goes from one straight onto the other. The lower slope is called the Col de Küssnacht, but the main Category 1 climb that's next, the Mur de Péguerre, 9.3 kilometres at an average of 8%. It's shorter than the last one, but steeper. And Mur says it all. French for wall.
And look at the numbers in the last few kilometres. It goes from gentle at the bottom, from blue into red, a little bit of respite in the middle, and then at the top, gradients of 18%.
So that first part, the Col de Küssnacht, after they get past that section, after 6 kilometres of climbing, it's the next 3.5, which is the actual Mur de Péguerre. That 3 kilometre section is all, I'd say the average is 12.5%. But with those steep sections, like you said, it'll be through the corners, 18, 19%.
Niels Pollitt now being caught by the main peloton.
I think it'll serve to break up the front group. The peloton, however, still a big question mark, isn't it? Who is going to do the chasing? Who's going to get nervous about Quintana having a 5-minute lead at this point in the race when they still have a long descent off the top of the next climb all the way to the foot of the Prat d'Albi? Because when they crest the Mur de Péguerre after 147 kilometres of racing, they have 28 kilometres to the foot of the final climb.
And it continues. It's the cycling standoff between the Küssnacht Quickstep and the rivals of Julian Alaphilippe. Ineos, they continue to wait patiently. Yesterday we expected a little more, well I certainly did, of Geraint Thomas, but he is hoping that that's his one bad day behind him, and he wants to get himself back into contention. I don't think today is a day where Geraint Thomas can take time back on Julian Alaphilippe, and it's just funny that that's the shift in the language, not about can Alaphilippe defend, but can the others take time on him. Based on what we've heard about the final climb today, it doesn't sound like it's the one that really suits Geraint Thomas. So if he is good on the climb today, then he's back and he will be a contender once we hit the Alps. This is still a race of great intrigue. This is the deepest we've been in the dark as to who's going to win the race for the last perhaps 10 years or so. Maybe even more. Great edition of the tour. The Küssnacht Quickstep taking a few more risks on the descent. They've closed it back down now. It's just a little over 5 minutes.
Well, looking at that final climb, it's not as brutal as the climb yesterday up to the Tourmalet. It's not as long, it's not as steep, it's not at the same altitudes. The altitude at the top of the final climb, 1,205 metres. It's an 11.8 kilometre climb as opposed to 9.7%, but the steeper sections are... And just the last kilometre is only at an average of 3%. A little flat piece through to the line. It's going to be easier for the favourites to all stay together on the final climb today. I don't see a lot of changes happening amongst them.
But I didn't anticipate Enrique's climb either.
That is also true, and what Pio Bilbao is, we have got a problem.
This is Woods. He's trying to get something out of his front wheel, which is always extremely dangerous. He's putting his weight to his back seat, and it's really rattling the bike at this point. He's always a nervous rider to watch on descents.
He is. It looked precarious from Woods. And I'm not sure if it was possibly a gear problem or he wanted a bit more adjustment in the brakes. Sometimes you see the riders on the uphill, they'll flick a quick release totally released the brakes out, so any flex in the wheel won't touch the brake pads. As much a psychological thing as anything else. Sometimes you'll hear just the very faintest touch when out of the saddle, and on these climbing bikes, so light, really, the lightest wheels, things flex a little bit, sometimes just brush ever so slightly. But he was looking like he was trying to adjust something there, still looking down.
He's still really concerned about it. Former 3,000 metre record holder as a runner in Canada. He's done a sub 4 minute mile. He's managed to run 3:56 or 54. I can't quite remember what it is, but he was the record holder, at least at the time, in Canada. He did an interview with Inside Business early in the Tour de France on around about stage 2 or 3. And he said, riding a race like the Tour de France, it makes you a better bike rider, but a worse person. Tempers get frayed. You don't do a whole lot other than ride your bike, quite obviously. And you live in a bubble. You're oblivious to everything else that is happening around the world. Doesn't look at ease at all on the bike at the moment here, Michael Woods. The Movistar team, though, they are taking command of this breakaway. This is Marc Soler at the front, followed then by Andre Amador. In third position is Nairo Quintana, who's worked his way back up towards second place in the overall standings. Simon Yates is behind him. Romain Bardet is in this group. Let's take a look at the climb. And this is what we spoke about. It starts okay, then eventually goes to black.
Yep, that blue colour, they are the lower gradients. There you have it, 6.5%. Then it goes into the red, an easier section in green, so a chance to ease off, catch your breath. Then that red zone and turns to black track, 13, 18, 16%, and a long section that black continues to the top of the wall of Péguerre.
It doesn't fade to black, it rises to black. It is a brutal climb right at the end. That's where it's at its toughest. The good news for a lot of the riders in the race today is the altitude's not super high. 1,300 metres by comparison to the more than 2,000 yesterday. Oxygen density shouldn't be too much of a problem. The yellow jersey so far, Julian Alaphilippe, just simply looks like he's enjoying himself. He still has 3 teammates with him. Dries Devenant is there, so too is Casper Asgreen. Just want to get a little bit closer to confirm the other one. We would have anticipated Enric Mas, but he got dropped earlier on.
Up the front, the attention turns to nutrition, hydration, recovery, because the next climb is really tough.
They're just a couple of kilometres away from hitting the base of that climb. This is the philosopher and the playwright, Guillaume Martin, number 191.
We talk often about eating and drinking. It's important. Do it often. Do it when you can. There are very few opportunities now on this stage. You're either going up a Category 1 climb or down a tricky descent like this one, uneven, off camber, through the shadows, blind corners. Pretty difficult to reach into your pocket.
So there's physical stress on the way up, psychological stress on the way down. This is the experienced Nico Roach coming to the front. The hand signal out, letting everybody know, left-hand turn about to come.
You've got to leave your manners out of it. It's hand in back pocket, grab something, stuff it in your mouth, and chew with cheeks like a chipmunk to just get it in while you can. Because don't forget, this is a 187 kilometre stage. It's been incredibly fast from the get-go. So it's not like you can just roll along and keep fueling up at your ease.
So the leading group with Romain Bardet, they went over the Porte de l'Aise at 21 kilometres per hour. The De Koenig Quick-Step-led peloton with Julian Alaphilippe, 19.7. Is that a little bit of rain on the lens? It is.
Well, it did rain in this area last night, and we said it was very humid and can always blow in.
It's not a little bit of rain, that's a lot of rain now where the peloton is. This makes it dangerous, and you get the sense that perhaps Julian Alaphilippe, he would like the rain. He doesn't mind dangerous on the way down. He could put some of his rivals under pressure whilst descending.
He definitely can. Not sure he would like to do that right at this moment, but it's certainly not going to bother him or hinder his chances. And then very quickly, they're out from under that rain shower.
The average speed, thanks to the descent, has gone back up to almost 42 kilometres per hour.
So just a very short section. And
that is Viviani.
Microclimates here in the Pyrenees. Viviani, what a job he is doing today for the team, the sprinter.
Elio Viviani left Team Sky / Ineos because he didn't want to be on a team with somebody racing to try and win the Tour de France overall. He wanted to be able to come to the race to try and win some stages. Well, he's won a stage. Now he is supporting the defence of yellow. Remnants of the breakaway group. That is Anthony Perez of the Cofidis team about to be caught. Tension on the brakes in the wet.
You've always just got to hold your breath a little bit when the peloton is descending and it just starts to rain. When it hasn't rained here for a while, it rained a little bit overnight in Toulouse where we were. Signs of a little bit of rain on the way down here, but when we arrived in Foix, it was completely dry. It's going to be the first time it's rained in a couple of weeks. Then the roads can just get that little bit of greasiness. So although Julien Alaphilippe is a very good descender, as are the men in front of him, he's got to be a little bit cautious, but it looks now like they are back onto dry road. So a really isolated shower through that section.
And it's humid here in Foix at the base of the final climb.
I'm looking outside. The sun is almost breaking through as we look out our back window. They're back into the sun. See the riders' shadows on the roads. So they're back into those nice conditions, but very, very hot. And with that rain that we just had, you can imagine how humid it is out there as well.
The climb now starts of the Nœud de Périgueux. This is a 9.3 kilometre climb. The steepest pinches, they come right at the very top with gradients up to 18%. 10 minutes back to the green jersey group. This is Roach. Once you crack on this climb, it comes to a grinding halt really, really quick.
I don't think you need to signal to say, pass me on that side. You can just come past.
It was pretty obvious. De Plus still at the front, followed by Kruijswijk. Yates now attacks. It's climbers in the mist as they head through the Pyrenees.
Well, Yates here already showed a sign on the climb before. He was the man that made the first acceleration that really split the group up. He's got Geschke off the front. He says now it's time to go across and join him. Whittle it down to a smaller group that I can deal with. And with just 3 minutes lead, still a long way to go. Descent, long valley road. He knows he needs to get on with it now.
There is a decent valley road between the top of this climb and into Foix. It's predominantly downhill though, but
it's 26 kilometres.
It's a long way. Yeah, I'm looking for positives for the breakaway, trying to give them a chance, and they are a chance, particularly riders of the calibre of Simon Geschke and Simon Yates, who is trying to come across on his own.
26 kilometres from the top of this climb to the foot of the last one. Most of it nice, fairly steep descending, but there is a 11-kilometre section where you could really use that team time trial effect working together.
They're clearing out the vehicles.
Well, where are they going to put the red one?
Between Geschke and the chase behind.
They're already driving two wheels onto the grass, getting ready for Yates to pass them and get onto the wheel of Geschke.
Kemner at the back. In front of him with the yellow helmet is Martin. The pink colours of Michael Woods. Kreuziger, Galopin. That's Dan Martin. We bridge across the easy way. Nairo Quintana is here. Raikkonen back in the red. Bardet and Martin. The climbing cream is rising to the top.
Well, the attack of Simon Yates, it has splintered that group completely. He has now halved the gap that was there between himself and Simon Geschke. Geschke, he's able to go through the corner, look back, a smile from one of his former soigneurs when it was Team Sunweb. They know each other well, and he'll be hoping that his former colleague in the same team can put in a good result, and then he turns his attention to looking for Kemner.
When he changed teams, as that Sunweb team under various sponsors is the only other team he's ever ridden for, and he was with them for 12 seasons. Still De Plus at the front for Jumbo-Visma. Fabio Aru fighting to hold on at the back. Richie Porte is looking better today. This is Omar Frele from the break, now being caught by Mikel Landa, who was launched out of the peloton. Incidentally, Landa started the day 11th, 6:14 behind.
Landa past Frele. Frele will be surprised if he can hang on all the way up.
The main time losses for Mikel Landa came on stage 10 in the crosswind when he was involved in a crash. He was in the front group.
And yesterday he was very good. We thought it was for Quintana, but Landa was their best finisher.
6th position on the stage yesterday for Landa. Bardet now responding. Oh, this is a show of character, not just physical strength, but a show of character for Bardet.
And when they get over the top of this climb, I would expect Romain Bardet, with his descending skills, to ride his way back on. As Jeske, he takes the major points across the top of the Mur de Péguerre, quickly followed by Simon Yates. He rides himself into the wheel, and then it's that small chasing group led by Bardet.
Bardet, he collects more points for the polka dots, but it's the stage that he is primarily focused on, surely. Lutsenko is the next, then Reichenbach, then it is Nairo Quintana. We always thought we'd be talking about Bardet, Martin, and also Quintana, but it's in a different situation. Soler, the ultimate workhorse, he's now been caught by Landa, and it's full throttle.
Important moment would be even better for Landa if he caught Soler closer to the top. It may just be the case that Soler has done all that he can, unless he's just sat, rested, freshened up to make sure he can get all through this final kilometre with Mikel Landa, and then two together can really make an impression off the descent and down the valley road.
And I think Soler can do that. I think they'll be together over the top, because he will need, Mikel Landa that is, he will need Marc Soler on the other side of this climb.
We saw Movistar do this often last year in the Tour de France. Riders up in the break, then wait, someone attack out of the group of the favourites, come across, get together and work. Soler did it with Valverde last year on the road to La Rosière. It didn't work out in the end, but they kept trying the right tactic.
This is
One
the
day
attack.
it's going to work out.
This is the attack of Mikel Landa.
Look on these steep slopes, up to 18%. Full effort, 13, 14 kilometres an hour. That's on a flat stage that would carry you up to around 60 kilometres an hour.
Tells the story of the gradients, because when you talk about percentages, it never does it justice. But when you see a guy the calibre of Mikel Landa attacking all the way up to 16 kilometres per hour, you know it is frightfully steep. Fraulet now on the radio. An update perhaps for Lutsenko as to what's happening in the remnants of the peloton. It's not the peloton anymore. This is simply the yellow jersey group. It's being led by Laurens de Plus of Jumbo-Visma. Soler and Landa over the top together at 2:14, but their advantage is just over 20 seconds on the yellow jersey group of Alaphilippe.
And Alaphilippe still riding at the front of the group on the wheel of Steven Kruijswijk.
And it is pouring with rain at the finish line, we've just been told.
Well, it could be that same weather system that we saw just earlier on the last descent that hit the riders. It's moving across the finish line at the moment. But here where the riders find themselves is up high in the mist as George Bennett. He's managed to hang on the back of this group. That will be very handy for Steven Kruijswijk to have the Kiwi still in the group.
Looked like he was suffering. To be at the back of the group, it looked like Bennett was suffering. He likes to be at the front. He likes being Steven Kruijswijk's bodyguard in the mountains.
Well, he gets a chance now to get his breath back, get some lactic acid out of the legs. He's going to have to take some risks on this downhill. It will be very fast. And I even wonder if this is possibly a place where Julien Alaphilippe may just take matters into his own hands for a while. It's not like he's doing a pedalling turn on the front, but if he just lets it flow through the corners, well, he is likely to catch a few off guard.
Bardet showing his frustration.
Irritated. Nairo Quintana.
No, I'm not sure it was
Maybe.
Quintana. I think it was for Reichenbach in the red colours from Group Arma FDJ, who's just sitting on the back.
It is. Quintana still prepared to work. I was wondering if maybe Quintana was hearing Landa is coming. Wouldn't it be better if we all came together? Even though it's still a 2-minute 37 gap.
I think it's too big, that gap for Quintana to wait. But
In fact, it's only 2:08, not 2.5. 2 minutes is too much for him to wait. It's Reichenbach, the man who's sitting on.
The conversation is still happening. Bardet is having some stern words for Reichenbach, but Robbie,
Team orders.
he's within his rights to do that. He's riding for a man that is back in the yellow jersey group who won yesterday's stage, Thibaut Pinot.
And will be under instruction, do not ride with Nairo Quintana, because he is now ahead of Thibaut Pinot. Or at the moment, 2.5 minutes. Which way has it swung?
And Analo Quintana, and one way to stay out of trouble, go to the front.
So he says, I'm not going to ride in your wheel. I'm happy to do it a little bit more at the front.
Amador Soler working for Landa.
Amador is a very good descender.
Indeed.
He's up there with Bardet, Alaphilippe and Peter Sagan. He is really strong downhill, skills-wise.
As a team, Movistar came in for the most criticism yesterday. As a team today, they should be coming in for the most praise. They have ridden this brilliantly.
Well, they're going into these stages with a plan and going into execute it. Yesterday looked to be going just the way they wanted it, but then Nairo Quintana was dropped. Landa, however, had a good finish in 6th on top of the Tourmalet, and now they're putting some real pressure on, but not so much on the yellow jersey because it's other teams doing the work behind.
Jumbo-Visma doing the chasing. Their team leader, Steven Kruijswijk, he sits in 3rd place overall. He's 2:14 down, which has him at 12 seconds behind the defending champion, Geraint Thomas. And you know who we haven't spoken about much again today? We've mentioned him as an unsung hero, but he's just sitting there quietly, minding his own business. Emmanuel Buchmann, 5th overall at 3:12. Don't worry about me, boys. You go about your business. I'll just try and sneak onto the podium in Paris.
You can't even see me. I'm under the radar, catching some of the remnants of the break now. Amador Soler,
Ciccone.
Landa.
This is Ciccone, 133. Get on the train.
And along with him from Team Cofidis, number 154 is Jesus Herrera. Back to the front of the race. Yates, look over the shoulder, over the top of Simon Geschke. Back onto the pedals, not quite as steep anymore. The speed still very high. Winding their way down off the Mur de Péguerre. Long valley road coming up in front of them as well when they get off the main descent.
It's Bardet and Quintana who are the quickest of this group on the way down.
Bardet would be hoping that he can distance Reichenbach. Then there's no passenger in this group. He says, I'm not allowed to ride here. Quintana's Thibaut Pinot, so I'm going to sit on and not make a contribution. But if you can drag me all the way to the bottom of the final climb and my legs are a bit fresher, just quietly I've got the go-ahead to go for the stage win.
As an indication as to how good a climber Reichenbach is, he was 14th in the Tour de France in 2016, 17th in the Giro d'Italia the year after. You're a very good climber finishing in the top 20 at the Tour de France or the Giro d'Italia. There he is at the back in the red colours.
Bardet drops to the back of this group, has a look behind, tries to assess where the rest of the chasers are. Back up to the front now with Geschke and Yates. The German and the Brit, no threats to general classification.
Look at how quickly they're descending though. The chasers, Bardet, we've spoken about his descending ability. It's out to 43 seconds.
Whenever they've got onto a part of the descent that's not as steep and not as winding, look at the effort they're putting in, how hard they're pedalling. One's pedalling flat out in the front, the other one's aero tucking the slipstream, gets up on the seat, he goes over the top, where these guys here are not doing as much.
Reichenbach's working now.
He is, but it's not giving absolutely everything. The next turn from Lysenko, he may come over the top and pedal through. It's not with the intensity of the two off the front.
And Landa has moved out to almost 40 seconds, 50 seconds in front of the yellow jersey group.
Well, he's being chased now by George Bennett, who is the man on the front. Bennett, not a noted descender. He's an incredible climber, but he has come under pressure for his descending in the past and chasing really good descenders like Amador, Soler and Landa. It's a tough gig.
And it's out to a 50-second advantage now for Mikel Landa ahead of the yellow jersey group. They've got a bit of breathing space though on Mikel Landa. He's at 6 minutes and 14 seconds down in the overall classification. A lot of that time loss coming on stage 10 when he was knocked off the side of the road accidentally by Warren Barguil. Well, Greg Van Avermaet, the Olympic champion, he's got his teammate in the breakaway, Simon Geschke, from the CCC team. We spoke to Van Avermaet before the stage started to get his thoughts on what might happen. Let's now have a listen to the leader for CCC.
Hi, group, Alaphilippe. I think he has a good chance. He has two mates in front, and he has the yellow jersey and the whole nation behind him and give motivation. And I think the stages in the Alps are short, and this should help him to recover better from the higher climbs.
Do you think you can hang on there and climb with the best, with the Bernals and the Colombians?
Yeah, I think, I hope he can win, and it would be nice.
Well, CCC without a threat to be able to win the race overall, so Greg Van Avermaet just giving his open and honest view, and it is the sentimental view held by a lot of people that Julien Alaphilippe can return the fortunes of the French. It's been a long wait. The last time they won was way back in 1985. He's in a good position. He holds on to a lead of 2 minutes and 2 seconds. So Van Avermaet, Robbie, also hoping that Julien Alaphilippe can win the race overall. And the weather conditions at the base of the climb starting to change.
It is now raining. Yep, it is now raining here at the bottom of the climb. It won't concern the riders so much if it rains down the valley and on the final climb itself. They're more worried about it raining while they're still on this descent. At the moment, it looks dry. Fingers crossed they get to the bottom of the main descent with good conditions. After that, it doesn't matter so much.
Number 65, that's the rider that they're protecting. That is Mikel Landa.
If they thought he was weak and they underestimated him, they would be attacking him. Now they're just riding on the front, which makes it look much more like they're just starting to think about their own positions, protect their own spot on GC.
It's got to be too early for that, doesn't it?
But then, see, and it's still very early in this tour, even though we're 2 weeks in, we're approaching the second rest day. The big Alpine stages is where this tour will be decided. 2 minutes is a healthy lead for Alaphilippe, but in the scheme of things, it's only about 750 metres on a climb.
This is stage 15. Stages 18, 19 and 20 are brutal in the Alps. Lots of climbing above 2,000 metres, and we go as high as 2,700 metres above sea level. Bardet, I'm delighted to see number 31 in the break today. No matter what happens in terms of his stage result, this is the character of a real champion.
Or just look at how many groups we've got on the road. All right, the one at the back, Sagan and Wellens, that is the Gruppetto. The Maillot Jaune group at 3:36. They are now 1 minute and 17 behind Landa and Quintana.
Here's the climb. You haven't ridden it before, Robbie. It's a new destination in the tour.
Out of Foix, easy gradient to begin with. Then it goes into the red zone. That is between 6 and 8%. And then look at that kick early on. Greater than 9%, little ease off again, then another kick. It's an irregular climb, hard to get a rhythm on, and the reports are that the road surface is rough and bumpy. It doesn't flow. You start to get in trouble on this. It's not just the gradient, but the road surface holds you back as well. Eases off at the top, so if anyone comes into the finish in a small group, they're going to have to sprint it out in that last few hundred metres. But it's the first 1/3 of the climb that should do all the damage.
And this is Tony Galopin, Dan Martin, Leonard Kamner, Michael Woods. They've returned to the Bardet-Quintana group. Kreuziger is there with the green colours from Dimension Data.
And this is good for the two in front. Their gap has climbed out to almost 1 minute 10 now. As this group comes together and they all look at each other, Geschke and Yates push on like a two-man time trial, still building their advantage over their closest pursuers. We're getting two races for one prize today. The race for the stage win amongst the break, and then behind the attacking group of Landa versus the group Maillot Jaune, where the Maillot Jaune himself is just sitting in the wheels, letting Jumbo-Visma do the work.
We're running out of cameras to keep up with everything. This is at the back of the yellow jersey group. The white colours you can see, that's Fabio Aru. Just in front of him, the French champion, Warren Barguil. This is the group of Mikel Landa at 2:19. Mikel Landa, number 65, will not touch the wind until they hit the bottom of the climb. Marc Soler at the front, Andre Amador in the middle. Those two will empty themselves.
This has been absolutely ideal for Movistar. They set it up yesterday and looked to be right on track. to execute the plan. It didn't go like they wanted. Orlando was solid. Quintana was dropped. But today, riders in the break, one attack out of the group of favourites. And just look how efficient they've been. Waiting at the right time, being able to go with him over the top of the climb and then pin the ears back down the valley road. And the gap is growing all the time. And it's now out to 1:16.
This is a really good move by Mikel Landa. This is not a day where he can take the yellow jersey, but he can move himself back towards the top 5. And now Groupama FDJ, this is Rudy Millar who's gone to the front. They're a little bit concerned about Mikel Landa. And rightly so. Jack Haig returns. Here's the yellow jersey. No teammates. Is Dries Devenens perhaps returning with this group? Totally isolated now out in front.
Well, weather-wise, it stopped raining at the finish line. It's also stopped raining down here at the foot of the climb, although there is a bit of laying water where the riders are, still dry, so it should not have an impact on the race, making the roads dangerous at all. If anything, it's just going to add to the drama on the climb.
The future's so bright, I need to wear shades.
Fresh glasses, or get them cleaned at least for Julien Alaphilippe.
Even a little thank you.
Thank you, I'm all good. He absolutely loves it.
He's winning and he's polite. Almost into the streets of Foix. In fact, they are on the outskirts of Foix, and they're out to 1:30 ahead of the chasing group. This is the finish line.
You can see them just brushing the water with the squeegee off the finish line and off all the advertising. It has rained heavily up at the finish line, and you see up into the clouds, the misty conditions up top. Down here, clear, dry, perfect conditions for the race to the foot of the climb. 15 kilometres to go for the chasing group of the Maillot Jaune.
There is just 1/10 of the normal infrastructure at the finish. Not enough room, but the crowds in Foix, they're enormous.
Well, they're into the streets where the stage is so often finished here in Foix. Last time it was Warren Barguil winning the stage over Contador in a sprint finish. Now it's through the old finish and up to Prat d'Albi.
The old finish line is where it just starts to get really hard. Soigniers on the side of the road.
Last drinks.
Collected by Yates and Geschke. It's the Simon combination out in front. Both of them having a chat onto the team car as well. You can see the grabbing of the jersey.
Maybe just the last update. What's the gap? Let them know. Climb. This last climb, as we've got to take a look at the castle that hovers above Le Chateau Comte de Foix. Pardon me.
This is the chateau just on the outskirts of Foix. Commands the city of Foix. It's been renowned as a Cathar bastion for many years since its establishment in the 10th century. It's in a strategic position for defensive purposes historically. The race is now in a strategically significant position, and it is the defence all on his own of the yellow jersey for Julien Alaphilippe.
That final climb, 11.8 kilometres, 6.9%.
This is another look at that chateau, often besieged by Simon de Montfort from 1211 to 1212. It staunchly resisted, and only once was it overtaken, and that was in 1486. And that was as a result of a war between two branches of the Counts of Foix.
The toughest sections of this climb come between kilometre 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. They are the steepest ramps, above 11% gradient. After that, it's 5 kilometres at around 7%.
5 riders still in there from Ineos by the looks of it. Let's not forget the white jersey of Egan Bernal, the leader of the best young rider classification. David Goudou, no, it's still Rudy Millar from Groupama FDJ. This is Mühlberger now at the front for Bora Hansgrohe, followed by De Plus in the yellow colours for Jumbo-Visma. Omar Frale is the rider who is in 3rd position for Astana. This is Ciccone, a day in the breakaway. He's still suffering the ill effects from a fall 4 days ago.
You saw him just putting his hand on his back, maybe bothering him slightly, but it's been a good ride by Ciccone. up there trying to help Richie Port. A bad day yesterday for Port on the slopes of the Tourmalet. Amador, his job is done, and a fantastic job it has been by the Costa Rican, the domestique of Team Movistar. Ridden hard for Mikel Landa, along with Marc Soler, who is still going in front of the Spaniard.
He has been the most important teammate for Movistar. Getting into that break on the day where when Daryl Impey won, the last one to get there to protect their position in the team's classification. A lot of work yesterday, even more work today.
He's been fantastic, and he's guiding Landa to a time gain. But the gap is coming down. It's now under 1 minute between the group of Landa and the yellow jersey group of Julien Alaphilippe. 59 seconds less, now 56.
We look back at the famous chateau that overlooks the city of Foix. Dates back to the 10th century. Well done, number 67, Marc Soler. Now, for Mikel Landa, he has a 10-kilometre individual time trial.
And that's all it is. He doesn't have to look at anybody or anything. Just get the most out of himself on the way up the climb. Plenty of traffic on the way up. Team cars trying to get to their riders in that front group who are on the chase behind Yates and Geschke. And Mikel Landa, I think soon will be starting to pick some of those riders up.
Sixth on the stage yesterday. He's got cars to chase in front of him. As Amador has now been called by the George Bennett-led peloton. Kruijswijk in second position. Might have been a shake of the head to a swan, yeah.
Yes. No thanks. No more drinks needed. I'm fine. Looking relaxed. George Bennett setting the pace.
Geraint Thomas behind Kruijswijk, then Castroviejo.
Alaphilippe sitting a lot further back in the group at the moment.
There's the yellow jersey.
Number 21 on the left-hand side.
He's stalking Thibaut Pinot. He's on the wheel of yesterday's stage winner. That's a pretty smart move. Landa quickly across to Nairo Quintana. I wonder what Quintana will do to ride in support of Mikel Landa. Quintana is better placed overall, but Landa clearly, based on yesterday, has better legs, and there's still a long way to go in this race.
It seems to be the case, and can Quintana do any more than he is currently doing? You would think once he got on the climb, he would have gone in search of the riders in front. Landa, straight past the Colombian. Not a look, not a word, he just keeps going.
I get the impression that the relationship between those two is a little frosty.
Landa back out of the saddle. Look over the shoulder. Have I dropped Quintana? No, he's coming with me. Can I get anything out of him? So Landa pushing on, passing the group. This is Tony Galopin on the front.
Romain Bardet. Raikkonen back in second position in the red colours. He's a teammate of Thibaut Pinot at Groupama FDJ. The gap is at 1:33 to the two Simons. It's extending for Yates and Geschke.
They are going away, the two riders in front. They've been going away since the top of the last climb. They opened up the gap on the downhill. They've even increased it more down the valley road, working together, and still full commitment from both riders. Geschke, 1:14 in the orange, the German. Simon Yates, the Brit, number 108 from Mitchelton Scott. A minute and a half with 8.5 kilometres to go, considering it's not the favourites group of the yellow jersey. Huge chance of pulling this one off.
And now they're trying to clear